All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you folks. We do have a Blackboard page that is available. The Blackboard page is published for you. It's viewable for you. Right now, the only thing on Blackboard for this course is the syllabus. However, your grades will be posted there. That's probably the two main things we're going to use Blackboard for. Viewing the syllabus and possibly any reference materials that you may need. There are certain constants that might need to be looked up, or certain instructions or steps, procedures you may need to know. So you can kind of use Blackboard as a reference page. It's going to be where reference documentation is, the syllabus, the class rules, the schedule, and then also as I grade the labs, they'll be posted in Blackboard. So this syllabus is directly out of Blackboard. You don't have to write down this. In fact, if you want to go into Blackboard now and view it, you can download the Word document. I'll keep it up on the screen here, so no need to take notes. No need to write anything down here. This is all in the syllabus in Blackboard. I just want to cover it here and go through it. So just bear with me here. So I was thrown into a virtual lab situation with Physics 141 last semester. I was the only instructor teaching it in the spring, and I had to immediately throw it into virtual online mode. It was exciting. It was fun. Although when you're asked to do something kind of without any planning or warning, it isn't always the best that it can be. The physics department decided to design all the 141 labs to be virtual from the start. That way, should we have another lockdown or another flare-up of COVID cases within the Valparaiso Community University, we're ready to go and we're prepared. So that being said, this is different for us. We have never from the start designed a purely online lab. However, there are some things we're doing differently, which we'll get to later here. So we hope this is going to be a good experience for all. It'll be a learning process for us, since we've never done it this way before. So never be afraid to speak up. If something is bothering you, if you're not getting something, if you're not understanding something, if you're not hearing or seeing something, we want to make it right. And so I can't promise I'll have all the answers, and I can't promise I can fix it right away, but we want to improve as we go forward. So what are we going to learn in this class? The main objectives are these. We want to learn how to measure things. That's number one. Not just by holding up a ruler and writing down whatever number we see, but how can we be scientific in our measurement? The main difference between a high school lab and a college lab is the presence of uncertainty. Every measurement and every value that we take will need to understand the role of random error and uncertainty in our measurements, and so we'll get there. Number two, test relationships between experimental values, especially through graphical analysis. We will graph data that you measure in the labs, and we will understand and learn what those graphs mean. Those graphs can tell us new information about the world, about a projectile, about a force acting on an object that we didn't know before. Number three, we'll perform something called linear regressions. That's related to number two in the sense that by graphing data that is linear, we can work our way backwards to calculate the slope of that line and understand what that means to us. And so we don't use calculus in this course. However, understanding that what the slope of the line, the slope of the tangent line means and can tell us in a calculus-based physics course is certainly relatable. Number four, we will experimentally determine some expected values. For example, Earth's gravitational constant. We know what it should be in the sense that we know what other scientists have determined it to be. How does your result compare to that? And then how can we explain any discrepancies that might be there? I kind of just described number five as well there in our objectives by saying that. Write about your experimental results and reflect upon them, how they relate and why they may be different from what you expected. And also, we just hope that you appreciate the scientific process when you're done. You know, we hope that you appreciate the sometimes tedious and painstaking work that goes into something as simple as measuring the width of a table, if that's part of your experiment. But we also hope that you appreciate the limitations that provides us. So knowing what data is capable of and what it's not capable of. You know, uncertainty and randomness are not considered good things by most people. However, they're always there, and so they always introduce a certain limitation or a certain I don't know what the right word is, but we can only do so good with the measurement device or with the process that we're using. And so we can build billion-dollar particle accelerators and billion-dollar telescopes. However, even those devices, even though they're highly technical and can detect things that were once considered undetectable, still have uncertainty and randomness to their measurements. I can stop right now and see if anybody has any questions. Feel free to go ahead and just say them out loud if you have any questions, or type them in the message section. I'll pause for 30 seconds to take a breath and see if you have any at this point. Okay, I will move on here, so I won't spend too much time here. The area that we're going to be talking about here right now is the lab platform. I will briefly show it to you, but you have all, many of you have already logged on. So Pivot Interactives is the platform we've decided to use. Pivot Interactives is nice because it frees up a lot of our time in the sense that we don't have to set up, build, gather data, teach you how we did it, what we did, why we did it, upload it to you, and then also teach you how to use it even though you're not in the same room. I tried to do that, and I feel like I was relatively successful, but in the end I spent about 3 times more time, and what suffered was my personal interaction with you, the student, who were trying to learn some of these concepts mentioned above. Pivot Interactives has pre-recorded and pre-loaded experiments in video format. What's nice about it is it allows you, the student, to be the one who takes the measurements and gathers the data. We as instructors still design the experiments, and we guide you through everything from the data collection on. So you are taking a little bit more ownership and control of it rather than just watching somebody else do it on a screen, which there is value in. I feel like you're going to have a little bit more depth of knowledge by viewing these. So as you can see here, we are doing the experiments virtually, but we literally are experimenting. You are gathering the data. We don't want this to be a disappointing process. We don't want you to mess up 10 times in a row and get it right on the 11th, because that's disappointing. However, just because you get results that you don't expect, or just because you're struggling with something, we certainly don't want you to give up. We're here as guides. That's why we limit the courses. Even though a virtual course could theoretically have hundreds of students in it, we at VU just believe that we still want to limit those courses to 24, as we would if you were in person. You know, we want to keep the labs more personal, more where there's more one-on-one interaction, so we can guide you. I think, you know, that's one of the great things about the university, this university in general. So many of you received this link. I'm not going to talk about this. I did have some people tell me that they were not asked to pay $10 and still got into my class anyway. So lucky you, I guess. I'm not sure about that. I had 2 people tell me that today. I have a feeling you'll be asked to pay at some point, maybe once your 30-day trial runs out, or maybe once you start the first lesson. So if it makes you feel any better, $10 is less than what the lab manual would have cost. I think we were charging 20 or 25 for that last year. So even if you end up paying, and some people don't, you're still working out, making out better than last year. I don't have the answer to that, but I will see if any of the other instructors had that. Just want to highlight here that you will be expected to attend these Zoom meetings, and you're expected to have your camera and your mic. I mean, your mic doesn't necessarily need to be turned on, but your camera should be turned on, especially when we're doing the lab, so that I can interact and communicate with you better. So don't worry about it this week. If memory and device speed or type is an issue, Zoom and Pivot does not have to be on the same device. For example, you could be Zooming from your phone, and you could have Pivot Interactives open on your laptop or other device. So you certainly can separate out the devices if it works better for you, if you'd rather have me on a headset or earbuds, that type of thing. We'll revisit this shortly. I will access the website for you and kind of just walk you through it. This is pretty self-explanatory. Not going to read the entire schedule for you. This is Lab 0, just the introduction. We'll start next week with our first lab, Lab 1, Intro to Analyzing Motion. So just like last week, we'll expect you to be online on Zoom, ready to go at 3:05. I'll do a quick introduction and show you a little bit about what we're going to be doing, explain the topic each week, and then let you and possibly a small group of between 2 and 4 go to a breakout room in Zoom and work together. We generally are going to have you work in groups of 2 to 4. However, we're still going to have you submit your own responses and your own data. So we encourage collaboration, and we encourage you to bounce ideas off of each other. However, we do not encourage and do not want you simply to copy data and copy each other's answers. Even though you will all be using the same data, because you are all individuals and all making measurements independently from each other, you'll all have slightly different results, and that's okay. That's called random error and uncertainty, and we expect that. Lab section information is posted in Blackboard. Attendance, we do keep attendance, and we expect you to be here. We expect you to be on time. We also expect you to stay here until I dismiss you. So that might mean sticking around the entire period sometimes. Sometimes it might mean when you submit your lab, you're free to go. That depends on the format of the lab each week. So obviously I can keep you apprised of that each week. The good news is we do plan these out so that you should be able to complete the lab by the end of the period. That being said, occasionally there are some issues where perhaps your measurements were done improperly. Some part of your analysis needs to be corrected. I do not mandate that they're due immediately at 5:30 or 5:35. Of course, if there is a mistake, you can certainly usually turn in a little later in the evening or the following day or something. But generally speaking, we plan it out so that 2.5 hours is plenty of time to complete the activity. We do expect that you type the honor code at the end, and that the honor code is in effect during this. In some ways, this doesn't apply because we're not meeting in person. However, I would just say that if you are sick for whatever reason or have a family emergency, communicate with me as soon as possible. A quick one-sentence email works, because it may be possible for you to visit another instructor's lab session. For example, we offer these on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with different instructors. If you have a family emergency or are under the weather or are an athlete and might have a conflict, if you're a musician and might be in an ensemble and have a conflict, just communicate with me. That's the best way. Email your instructor ahead of time to discuss those options. That's the best way to deal with those situations. I kind of talked about this already. The honor code is in effect. Copying other students' work is prohibited. However, we do encourage and we want you to actively pair up with somebody between 2 and 4 students, and I will facilitate that by putting you in Zoom breakout rooms for most lab sessions. Lab session is 2.5 hours. About 20 minutes will be used by me to discuss the experiment, introduce you to some physics concepts, to some technical details. The rest of the time is for you to do the lab. Labs will end by our scheduled time. Some weeks are 1-week labs and some are 2. So there are some weeks where you will not turn in anything this week, but you will continue working on the same activity the following week and then turn it in then. So that just varies from week to week. We'll have what's called a challenge lab at the end. Challenge doesn't mean hard. Challenge means that it requires you to be a little more creative and think outside the box. It doesn't involve anything you haven't already learned, but instead of just following directions, we want to get you in the driver's seat and have you do a little bit of lab design yourself. So we'll talk more about that as we get there. Here's the grading breakdown. Just a note in case you don't realize that although you are enrolled in this course because you're in the lecture portion of the course, your grade is separate. So you do get a separate grade for this lab course. It's a 1-credit class. You can view it as that way. So I just want to highlight that. Here is my contact information. I have no on-campus classes this semester, so definitely emailing me is the way to go. I will not be in my office unless I absolutely have to be for some reason, and I don't know what that would be right now. The rest of these, I would encourage you to read through. They really refer to our access and accommodations policies, our student athlete policy, our diversity and respect statement, which we do take seriously. And so I do my best to accommodate to any learning differences that may be present in you, but you certainly, as the student, need to be proactive if I am in any way harming you or doing anything that if I can do anything to assist you with anything listed here, certainly please don't hesitate to reach out and talk to me about that. Does anybody have any questions at this time?
Yeah, I have a question.
Certainly, go right ahead.
So there's a lecture portion to this, obviously.
There is.
And so are those, obviously they're taught separately, but will the concepts coincide, or are these kind of separate things?
That's a great question. The same instructors that do the lecture portion had a hand in designing these labs. I am not a lecturer. However, we design it such that you should cover the physics concepts in the lecture first, and then work with them in the lab. Occasionally there are delays. For example, if a professor is absent due to illness, some of the material might get delayed in lecture. If that happens, we are aware of that, and I will do any teaching that is necessary. So don't be afraid. That being said, it's not a bad idea to keep your physics book handy. There might be some things you forgot or need to look up each week, but a physics book is not required as part of this course. No. So we do everything we can to teach you the physics first, and then we let you experience it as part of these labs. That's a good question. Yes, thank you. Any other questions? So I can see a list of students who have signed up for Pivot Interactive accounts. And it looks like as of about 2 hours ago, most of you had. If you have not yet done that, that is your only homework assignment for tonight. Please do that if you have not yet gotten a Pivot Interactive's account, because I want to make sure there's no issues with that. It is very critical that we get you online access to that as soon as possible. The one remaining thing I'm going to do here before we sign off for the day is I'm going to share my screen once more and just show you that platform very briefly. There's no need to teach you things now that you'll be learning next week. So let me do that. Yeah, so in case you're wondering, here on my screen, these are the students who I have registered within Pivot Interactive. If you don't see your name there, you have a little homework to do. please refer to my email link or the website in the syllabus that takes you right to the registration page. Gives you my email, gives you my class code. If you lost the email, need me to resend it, I can do that. Please just communicate with me right after class. I'll stick around if you have any questions, I can work you through it right after class too. If you were having some issues, I can walk you through. So. So what you're seeing now, or what you'll be seeing here shortly once this loads, is next week's lab. I'm not going to click on all of the submenus and open everything up, but essentially the beauty of this lab is we don't have to waste time, and that's not it wasn't a waste of time. We don't have to eat up our valuable time by setting up the equipment and doing the actual experiments for you. The experiments here in this lab, as you saw there, that Coke can getting demolished by a ping pong ball, are there for us to use. And this is done in high quality video with high frame rates, such that you as a student will be able to take frame by frame measurements of the position of this ping pong ball and study the physics of the situation. And so the first week is a physics lab, but it's also a training session for how to use this new platform. So we guide you through step by step what to do, what keyboard shortcuts are, and we also give you questions to answer. So throughout this, think of it as a combination experiment, tutoring session, and also a physics lesson. So you're never doing this alone. You shouldn't just automatically know the answers to these. They take some thought, they take some measurement, and they take some analysis. And so by carefully guiding you through this, and by, not sure what that was, by carefully guiding you through the analysis and the physics of the situation, we hope that you can you'll be able to complete this. So there's typically multiple parts to these. So whether you are working independently or in a small breakout group, we have highlighted as instructors key checkpoints. If you are at all confused, or even if you don't know if you're confused, why not just check? Why not ask? Why not share your screen with me, your instructor? Let me know what your results are at this point. Describe the process you used. Okay, stop. Describe the process to me. Let me read what your response is, or just talk me through it, so that we can have that conversation and such that it makes sense. The danger with online classes and labs is that people just type things in and check boxes and hope for the best. That's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is I can help more people, because we can use the tools at our disposal, like the raise your hand, the breakout rooms here in Zoom, and the screen share, so that we can have more interaction. Again, there's a part 2 with similar things. This time you'll actually gather input data, graph it, find the slope of the line, and tell us what that means. And then part 3, applying motion graphing. So again, it's not my job to teach you everything that's here this week. That's what next week is for. But this is the general format that we'll be following. So this will be a 1-week lab. So it is our intention, as I said, to for this particular lab next week, to get through this in 1 week and have it submitted and ready to go by 5:35. I believe that's when we're scheduled to end. Comments, questions, concerns, anything you're wondering about, worried about?
Do we have access to all of that stuff that you're showing right now yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
We as instructors are always, maybe we're perfectionists, or maybe we just don't know what we're doing yet, but we are constantly tweaking and proofreading each other. Oh, should we describe this to them that way? How is this going to work on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
So we are still tinkering and tweaking. I will typically make that available to you the day of. Sometimes there are even last minute changes the day of that I have to work on that I might post it right before. My hope is that you would browse through it and be somewhat familiar with it before class starts. So that brings up a good question. Should I have you read through it beforehand? Because typically we would have students read through the lab manual and read through the procedures beforehand. And typically we'd have you take a little reading quiz. We are not going to have you take a pre-lab reading quiz this semester. However, there would be some benefit I can see as to having you read ahead. So let me punt that question into the future. I don't know yet. I would actually think that in a perfect world, if we have all the revisions made, we could get that to you at 24 hours in advance and have you read through it. But let me make a note of that because I will need to be clear on that and instruct you to do that before class. And I'll give you plenty of warning on that. I won't send you an email at 2:30 or something that says, read the lab. That's not enough warning for you. So I'll certainly give you at least 24 hours warning. Your original question was, though, can you view it now? No, you cannot. I guess I kind of didn't answer that question. No, you can't view it now because I haven't shared it with you, but you will be able to probably at least 24 hours ahead, if not more, and I'll let you know when I publish it for you.
Okay, I was asking because I didn't have to pay either. It just let me in without asking for any payment stuff. So I wasn't sure if it was not letting me in because I hadn't paid or not.
Yeah, so let's throw that question out there. You see the yes, no checkboxes down on the bottom. Did you have to pay $10 to register for Pivot Interactives? Click yes or no. Let me know. Let's see what the poll is there. Did you have to pay 10 bucks? More no's than yeses. Okay. Yeah, I have a feeling that once I publish that material, you'll have to pay. Hey, maybe we'll get lucky, or maybe we won't have to pay till our 30-day trial is up, because I think it gives you a free 30-day trial at first, but even if you're not in a class. So, but then why did one person have to pay, right? I don't know. Why did one person some people had to pay and not others? So I don't know the answer to that question. I will try to get the answer to that question as well, and I'll let you know if and when you have to pay. So.
Okay.
Other questions that you may have? Okay, great. I am going to stick around here until all of you hang up. If anybody has any follow-up questions or would like some guidance logging into getting signed up for Pivot Interactives, please feel free to stay on the line and I can walk one or more of you through that. Other than that, enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Best wishes for the beginning of a unique semester, one like we've never had before at VU. So my hope is that it will go well. Don't be afraid to take a deep breath and just go for a walk if things get too stressful. I've had to do that a few times because when everything is new and not what you expect, it sometimes can get overwhelming. So be sure to take some time for yourself and enjoy that beautiful weather we have out here this time of year, because all the weather's downhill from here. So great to see you guys. Good luck on the rest of your classes, and you're free to sign off at this time. Have a good day.
All right, see ya. Thank you.
Take care.
Oh, I have a really quick question.
Absolutely.
So then would labs be due the day that they're assigned, or is it a week in between?
Labs will be due this time the day that they're assigned. So next week, there'll be that lab will be due at the end of that class period, which would be 5:35. Yes. If it's a 2-week lab, it won't be due until the following week at 5:35, right? So there are some labs we do that carry into the second week. The caveat to that is if you or anybody has some issues, technical difficulties, needs to start a certain section over, I'm very flexible. And if there's an issue that we're discussing, you certainly could turn it in late, and I generally will accept that. When will I not accept something turned in late? If you don't show up to Zoom at all and you just click a bunch of stuff and try to turn it in, that doesn't count, but that's not really going to be an issue for you. So, yeah, but they are due that week.
Okay, thank you. Have a
You're
great
welcome.
day.
You as well.
I have a question as well.
Certainly.
What is it? So when you were calling in the introductions, you never called my name. Am I part of the list or am I like in the wrong?
Oh, I am sorry about that. Let me check and see. Did I just not say your name? Or are you really not on this list? You're here. I just didn't call your name. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
If you really want to, you could introduce yourself next week. I completely skipped your name. I am sorry. I wasn't paying attention. The words on this roster.
Yeah, I thought you just like, I was like, well, I'm probably in the wrong class, but no.
No, you're not. You are absolutely in the right class. I am sorry, Edith. I apologize for that. I skipped right over you in the rush to get through this. So no offense. I apologize there.
Okay.
Yeah, you're all registered and ready to go. Are you in Pivot Interactives as well? I didn't even look.
What was it?
Did you sign up for the Pivot Interactives section yet?
Yeah.
Good. Then you're all set on my end as far as I'm concerned. So.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.
You too.